Hello, everyone. Uh, this is Louis Almeida, the teacher and student of Gurdjieff and Spinoza's teachings and philosophies. Today is Sunday, uh, January 29th, 2023. I'm going to talk about what my teacher came to, my late teacher, Gregory Grover. I was a student of his for over 20 years. He first introduced me to Gurdjieff and then Spinoza. Gurdjieff is a great introduction to the work that I do. Gurdjieff talks about the idea that we need a group. You cannot do the work by yourself because it's so easy to lie and not really see oneself objectively. We're too subjective about who we are and what we are and our nature. Anyway, the idea of objectively looking at oneself, and again, Gurdjieff also talks about the idea that man is asleep. What does it mean to be asleep? It means that the true intelligence, our essential intelligence, is dormant. Therefore, we live in a semi-conscious state of being, and this is where the ego survives and thrives. But there is a different level called the true intelligence, and this is what my teacher communicates here, and I'm going to read it. This is, if you get this book, this is called How to Solve Life's Problems, written by my teacher during the 70s, and it's relevant today. I published this book. It's available on Amazon.com, and I think you will find it valuable in learning how to look at yourself with the idea of going from your memory patterns, your old habits, because in those habits, there are a lot of pain and suffering. Whereas when you begin to look at yourself from another level of your mind called the intelligence, it's a clear thinking place to be. But let's get along, let's go with and listen to this particular essay. Beyond the level of life, one of the fundamental points to understand about the work required for growth, and this Gurdjieff emphasizes, is that it does not begin at the level of life, but originates from a different level. What does that mean? If you're a successful person, if you're a doctor, attorney, or a lay person, or a student, or you're married, whatever status you are in, we all have I was a hairstylist, say, for the first 25 years, and then I got into the real estate business. So identified as a hairstylist and a business owner, and then a realtor. That was my identity to a certain level. But so these are the ordinary pursuits everybody seeks. And one of the fundamental laws of human nature is that we go towards pleasure and avoid pain. However, it's in the pain that we learn to discover our true intelligence. Now, what is this true intelligence? It's an awakened state. It's clear thinking state. And the other part of the mind is called the memory, or the passive part. It's comprised of confused concepts. And I'll give you an example of a confused concept. You and I and everyone else believes that we have free will. We never questioned it. We never even consider it. And you might say, that's ridiculous. You're right, because you do not understand the truth about our nature. And this is where Gurdjieff said very provocatively that man is not aware of himself. He has buffers to prevent the truth, and he's not able to see the truth, because if he saw the truth of his nature, he would go insane. So buffers are necessary to sustain our existence. But we're more than existence. Okay, let's continue. Many individuals who believe they are interested in growth attempt to go about it as they would approach any other project, whether it is working on one's job, studying for some profession, designing a building, or composing music. See, we have these wonderful jobs. Some of us are not so wonderful, but whatever job you have, that level of effort will not take you to the level of accessing your intelligence. Let's discover why. The path of spiritual growth cannot be attempted successfully in this way. The desire for true growth must originate from a source in the individual which he or she very likely never worked with before. And this is true. We're not really in touch with our true essential nature, which is our intelligence. So we imagine that we are growing by reading self-help books, going to seminars, listening to Osho or Eckhart Tolle or Ellen Watts. They're wonderful and give us great feelings, but they don't change anything. Why? Because we must learn how to look at ourselves without judgment. We must understand why we suffer and why are we in pain. And there's a method to discover how to look at oneself without judgment. Well, let's go on here. What's the next? Just about everything we do on the level of life deals with personality and physical survival. Look at what you do. Everything we do has to do with physical survival and what our personality wants. Our personality is our ego state and expresses the ego. We all have it. We all need an ego to exist. We are first introduced to life as a child, and our first birth was our ego. And however, that becomes our total identity. You'll find that the ego expresses competition and comparison, and we are easy to envy. We also are easy to have contempt towards others and feelings of superiority or inferiority. Now, however, everyone wants to avoid pain because pain is, again, pain and suffering. We don't want to feel that pain. And so many individuals may take drugs or alcohol, whatever, or become addicted to other pleasures that offsets the pain. However, let's continue reading. Just about everything we do on the level of life deals with personality and physical survival. The level of life relates to money, power over others, and approval from others. Look at approval from others. We're always seeking approval from others, or we have desire to have power over others. It's automatic. You know, they say, you hear Osho, or Osho is dead. However, there's a lot of videos of him. To this day, thousands and millions of people follow Osho. And there's an idea that we can willfully go from pain to happiness, or from a sleep state to a conscious state. Or that's what we have to do, is meditate. And then we go into this enlightened nirvana state and be peaceful. And then we feel God's presence. Well, that is great during the meditation, but what do you do when you're on your job? What do you do in your household? How do you relate to others? If you're highly intellectual, you're going to have a problem with, you might have social anxiety. You might find it difficult to express your emotions. If you're not able to express your emotions or in touch with them, you'll never experience love, true love. And Spinoza will help us understand how to come to that. Because we all depend on people to love us, to approve of us. What I'm endeavoring to do is learn how to love oneself and to approve of oneself. Then if people approve of us, that's fine too. But we're not dependent on it. And that is our problem. Next, what does it say? The level of life relates to money, power over others, and approval from others, sensory pleasures, intellectual pleasures, and the inferiority-superiority complex, and the instinct for survival. This is the normal existence of humanity. Spinoza talks about that there are three levels of consciousness. The first is the lowest level, which is hearsay, knowledge, and mere experience information. We're born with these senses. We have 5 senses that picks up information. And that information we imagine, we understand. We never question what we hear or what we see. We read a lot of material. We're told a lot of things, especially when you're an infant. And then up to the age of 10 or 12, you've gathered a lot of information. That information is now stored memory. And, you wonder, you find, I remember looking at the videos during the 60s. Now, I was born in 1941, so that's 81 and almost towards my 82nd birthday, which is in August. But anyway, I went through the Martin Luther King protests and the walks and the Mississippi tragedies. But however, there was progress being made to a certain degree. But I noticed one thing. The students that didn't want to be integrated, this was the South, Mississippi, they did not want the students to be integrated into the schools. So they had these soldiers accompanied and guiding the, say, several Black students into the new school. And you should see all the hate, and you see it, all the hate from these young people, even children, expressing this hate. Why? Because it is imitated. And they're supposed to hate whatever is different. All right. So we imitate, emulate, copy without consciousness. And so here we are. But the work for growth relates to the level of one's inner being. What does that mean? What is one's inner being? The inner being of the individual is all about you, all your thinking, clear or confused. However, the work that we do is learn to discern the difference between your imagination and memory and your understanding, which you are able to come to clear thinking, clear ideas, so you understand the nature of an emotion. Give you an example of the idea of hate. What is the definition of hate? You might say, well, I don't like to have hate. Hate is sinful. Well, where'd you get that information from? Hate basically is the definition of hate is this. Hate is pain accompanied by the idea of an external cause. So if I feel hate, I believe you are the cause of my pain. It's that simple. But we must understand it and understand the meaning of this. So when you work with me, if you decide to go to my website and check my website out and see what you think. Observe what you see. Try to understand it. And if you do, and then you might want to tag onto my email, which is on the bottom of each of those pages, and give me a little comment or interest in what I do. You might want to be a student. Now, but the work for growth relates to the level of one's inner being. It is not motivated by any other desire, but the inner hunger for essential self-fulfillment. Let's read that again. But the work for growth relates to the level of one's inner being. It is not motivated by any other desire, but the inner hunger for essential self-fulfillment. Now, you may feel fulfilled already, so this would not interest you. Your job may fulfill you. Your family may fulfill you. Money may fulfill you. But does it really? Because everything that you're chasing, you're not alone. I had a business. I was a salon owner, and I was a realtor, and I had a desire to be a millionaire, but I ended up failing and ended up filing bankruptcy. But then I decided I want to focus on my inner development. You can have both, but you must want the inner development first. If the thing that you're pursuing is first, your education, your marriage, your religion, your money, your fame, your fortune, if that becomes first, you have no room for this. But however, if you're dissatisfied, as I was, I had everything. Even at the age of 30, I had a beauty salon. I was married to a beautiful woman, and I had a home, a brand new car at the age of 30. Now, this was during the 70s, 60s, where I was able to buy a home. Even as a salon owner, I was able to buy a home. Today, you can't. It's ridiculous how inflation has gone up. That little same house that I purchased, say for say $40,000, is now worth say $400,000 over the last say 40 years, 50 years. So it's ridiculous the amount of inflation. But what's the problem is wages has not matched inflation. That's why most people cannot afford homes today. All right, so let's continue. He says, but the inner hunger for essential self-fulfillment. So the idea, we must be aware that we are not fulfilled. The things that we have, the fame, the fortune, whatever, doesn't fulfill us. You know, individuals who are married, you find a grand wedding. And after a year or 2 years, the love, the sex no longer is as frequent. Why? Because it becomes ordinary. It's not the same unless you know how to apply yourself to try and experiment with new ideas. That's great. However, most of us, it's redundant and it's less stimulating. So now, everything we pursue, even when you buy a new car, the feeling of it is great. And after a year, it's ordinary. It's not as great as it was when you first purchased it. So we are not really satisfied. We're always looking for things to stimulate us. There's an inner fulfillment that is possible. It's not static, it's continuum. It's continuous. The inner fulfillment is to fulfill your basic need that can only come from improving your understanding. And what is that? Is the mind is connected with the whole of nature. The mind is connected. Well, let's go beyond that. The mind is connected with clarity and truth. What does that mean? My mind reflects the reality of what I see. When you become problem-minded is learning to see the problem and not be a victim of the problem. And problems become your material for your growth. Everyday problems. You lose your keys from the car, or you got in a car accident, or you meet someone at a restaurant and they don't show up, or you might break your leg, or you might get an auto accident. There are many, many problems. Or your computer isn't working and you're working on your trying to get some information, and then it breaks down. So you are going to be in an emotion automatic. See, emotions, pain is a decrease of perfection. What does that mean? A decrease of power. What does that mean? It means that you're not able to handle the problem you're confronted with. So when your desires are not satisfied, they're not met, you're going to automatically go into pain. And then from pain, you go into hate, and from hate to anger. You wonder, well, that's ridiculous. The question I have you ever examined it? Think about it. Now, so the idea I do is the work that I do is help you understand your emotions through the idea of factualizing. What does that mean? To factualize is to write down the events that trigger your emotions and to begin to look at it. And that's what triggers the mind to see and to endeavor to understand what's going on. All right. So the work for growth arises from a deeper self-awareness of the hunger to gain self-mastery. Look at that. Self-mastery, a deeper self-awareness. Most of us live on an automatic unconscious state, meaning, yes, we are semi-conscious, meaning we're aware of our desires, but we're not aware of the causes of these desires. And so we follow these desires, and sometimes those desires are not met, and therefore we crash. We go into pain, hate, and anger. But desires are always there to, we believe that will fulfill us, will satisfy us. You meet a new girl, or you meet a new man, and everything, and you meet him at a bar, club, dancing, you're having a great time, you're such a connection. And especially a woman, you have to be very careful. You know, there's a gut feeling, this guy is kind of strange. I'm not sure if I can really trust him. but you don't listen to it. And then the next day you find yourself unconscious because they slipped something in your drink, and you feel horrible. You feel you should have listened to yourself. And women have what is called intuition a little bit more than men do. But you need intuition to apply yourself to see that you're not really satisfied. However, you are capable of becoming truly satisfied when you access your intelligence, and this fulfillment is possible when you understand yourself and understand others. So self-love is possible when we understand our nature. And when we understand our nature, it's the understanding that we love, our effort to understand our nature. Now, let's take a look at this next. One must be aware that there are two distinct separate sides to man and woman's nature, the essential and the existential. The essential is the mind, the clarity thinking mind. The existential is all the problems we're faced with. Our body is affected by what we see or what we imagine. We have perception. Perception is seeing what is out there, reality. However, our perception is very weak. And I'll give you an example of poor perception. Believing your friend or your neighbor or your boss has free will, they have free choice, or your siblings, or your marriage. So you're quick to anger because you don't agree with them, and you want to argue, fight, and you end up fighting and arguing, and that's what we do. But it's possible to understand and look at oneself, and that experience you have with the problems of others and yourself become the material for growth. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look. Therefore, if you have a genuine desire to grow, you must learn that these two aspects of your nature exist, that they are separate, and that the spiritual is the side that must be intuitively clear if you are to attain a truly fulfilled level of life, a life beyond the level of ordinary experience. Now, the essential is what I'm talking about. What is the essential? Is the active wake state that wants to understand your nature, my nature, because in the process of understanding it through the factualizing method, you will begin to extend and strengthen yourself, your mind, your intelligence. And the intelligence is your essential nature, and it's possible to become fulfilled. All right, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. Give me a call, and you see my website, go down to the comments, and give me some idea what you're thinking. Bye-bye.